Anyways, I will talk to you guys in a little bit. I gotta go. I'm gonna go grab some food and drink for myself. Be right back.
Okay.
That was fun. He's like, oh, this is the general archetype of the ENTP. He's like, you saw me do that.
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good example of FE right there too.
Man, it got quiet all of a sudden. What happened?
Well, Jeremy, do you fold your clothes as an INTJ? Do you fold your clothes and put them in the drawer and whatnot?
I want to say yes.
You have an ISFJ.
No, my INTJ bud, I mean, he's my best bud, but I mean, either his room's a complete disaster, or it's actually put together, and he actually took the time to fold his crap up and put it in the drawers and whatnot.
You know what? I fold clothes and towels as an expression of value for my wife, not as a natural inclination.
Good deal.
Hopefully that'll suffice as an answer.
What type is your woman?
It's a good answer.
ISFJ.
Oh man, you took one from the ENTP team?
Nah, I will maintain. I'm
What
almost
team?
40. I've seen a lot. I've been in some relationships, and I'll continue
That's
to
a lot.
pressure. I'll continue to pressure people to find somebody you care about and like and whatnot first, and then use MBTI to understand how to relate to them, not the other way around.
Good deal. I like it.
That's an advice from a relatively old man.
Not
How do you
that
guys
old.
butt heads? Where do you guys butt heads?
What's that?
Where do you guys butt heads?
I'm going to change the question a little bit. Not so much butt heads, but run into issues with understanding one another. And the biggest problem there is on my side when I have my emotional shutdowns or my foibles, and she reacts to that negatively, and then I see that, and that drives me down, and I react negatively, and then she sees that, and she reacts negatively, and so on and so forth. We don't really butt heads that often, but frankly, that I would attribute that more to a matter of will than type.
Well, I think it's also the difference between you have an FI and her have an FE.
Mhm.
Normally, in that regard, one person is going to assume that one person, like the FI person, is going to assume the FE person is being controlling and trying to manipulate their behavior. Why are you doing that? And the FE person is going to think the FI person is shutting down or being too distant and not caring enough.
I shut down and can be distant and cold, and the analogy that I'll use is like an amplifier when you push it too hard and it goes into protect mode and stops sending a signal out to the speaker.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
And when that happens, she doesn't. Obviously, she can't understand automatically what's going on. I have to communicate that. The problem is that when I'm in that mode, I don't want to communicate that to anyone.
Mm-hmm.
So it triggers this feedback loop descent into mutual depression and whatnot. So in that regard, it's on me to try and curb and mitigate that the effects of that.
Right.
We don't really butt heads on much at all.
Sue.
No, I mean
Hey.
that was a good reiteration of the question.
I was just thinking that I do the exact same thing. Maybe it's an introvert thing. I don't know.
I've heard INTPs relate a very similar kind of situation.
Yeah, you guys do different stuff though when you're in that mode.
And I go cold quick. I mean, it's like 2 minutes. I'll be like totally normal, and then something will enter my thought processes, and I'll think about it, like especially a bad memory or something, and it triggers emotion, and then that makes me think about it, and then before I know it, and I shut completely down.
It sounds like you need a hug.
Hugs are good, but I don't come off as huggable when I'm like that.
Oh no, like regardless of whether or not you're okay, maybe that sounds a little violatory. Yeah, that sounds a little violatory, but like, you know,
But Mark, I'm curious. What do you mean by we do different things?
Well, I mean, he's going on NI trip, and you would be doing something different. I'm not exactly sure what that would be.
I trip?
Yeah, he's going off and he's thinking over things.
Stewing in it.
Yeah, right. It's not like thinking about it. Yeah, stewing in it. I don't understand it that well. Like, I'm not an INTJ, but that's what they do. They need time to I don't know, marinate themselves or something.
Yeah, and very slowly pull out of it. So it's like a two or 3 or 4 minute descent, and then a 2 or 3, maybe 3 week, if I have the will to pull out of it. If I don't, like when I was 19, I had the girlfriend at the time leave me, and I was in that state for about 4 years. Solid.
What state are we
Alone.
talking about?
Being completely shut down and in this internal feedback loop between thinking about it and the emotional response to it, and the emotions making me think about it, and the thinking about it triggers the emotions, and round and round and round and round.
That
So you
makes
had
sense.
a TEFI loop or something, whatever?
No,
You call it that.
NIFI.
Yeah.
NIFI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because at the time, the way that and it took me years of introspection to finally be able to kind of put the puzzle together and understand what was going on. But essentially, during the relationship, I saw the way things were and the way they had progressed, and had branch predicted what the future was going to be. We're going to get married, we're going to have kids and whatnot. And when she left me, my kids evaporated, gone. All that future was gone. All of that was gone.
Feel you, bro.
Yeah, it was future.
I can actually relate to that.
Yeah.
Relate.
that is sad.
It
You
was.
could do something like you did.
Granted, I
At least
wasn't in your state for 4 years, but I was actually in your state, similar situation for a whole year myself.
Yeah, it was during that period I first started playing with drugs. Why not? There's no future to lose. Let's try this. Oh, you got that? Okay, let's try that. Oh, I got a car. What does 120 miles an hour feel like? Let's try that. There's nothing to lose.
Yeah, it's like I've seen this thing about how whenever the INTJ or INFJs are like really hurt or really upset, they start engaging in like SE activities. So they start like they lose sight of the future. They become kind of destructive.
That would be a damaged INTJ for sure.
But at least in my case, it wasn't that I was wanting to destroy myself. It was that there was no reason not to. If that was going to be enjoyable, let's try it. I was already dead as far as the future was concerned.
I can kind of relate to that because when I my first real girlfriend I had, we dated for like, I want to say 5 or 6 months, and I had already started thinking about, this is how I'm going to propose to her. This is how many kids we might have. This is how we'll probably, live, that kind of thing.
Because you see the momentum. You see where the momentum is headed.
Exactly. And then suddenly she drops the truth bomb on me. I don't think I like you as much anymore as a romantic partner. I'm just sitting here like, frick me.
Well, in this case, what was really bad about it, especially looking back on it, is, and this is something she had told mutual friends, is she left me because I was emotionally unavailable.
That's an INTJ trait for sure.
Yeah. So I had no choice but to attribute the loss to myself. It was she left me. It was my fault.
I get that. I get called cold and whatnot too.
Yeah, and so after she broke up with me, I was in a state of depression for, I'd say, at least a full year. like severe depression. Like there's actually one point where I almost reached a suicidal point.
I never can. Suicide is not something I've ever thought. It's like, well, I'm here. I gotta ride this out. I've never been suicidal.
I have a question though. Like when you were in that depressed state, did you do a lot of like? How far did you push yourself in terms of like engaging in reckless activities?
Me?
No, Jeremy.
Well, tried a lot of different drugs. Drove real fast and drank a lot of alcohol. Not to sedate the feelings or to run from them, which is why it never became like a habitual problem, but more like just little adventures. Again, there's no future to lose was the sense of it. So
So you started.
Oh, good.
You started acting like kind of in a very poorly designed ESTP, pretty much. Kind
That-
of.
I can't speak to that because I'm not familiar with the type, but if somebody had ecstasy around, that sounds fun. Let's go. Okay. I mean, what's going to happen? What's the worst that could have happened? I've already lost it all. So, and that's childish and naive and ignorant on my part, granted. But at the time, that was the sense of it.
Right.
So it wasn't like, oh, I need to stay away from that. I don't want to get addicted. What if I get addicted? I haven't lost anything. I've already lost everything. So what's the problem?
Actually read about that yesterday. According to MBTI, if you get really fucked up, you start going to shadow functions, which are less developed or something, and end up doing stupid shit.
Yeah, I think the shadow functions are the functions that you don't have in your 4 major cognitive functions or something, right?
Yeah, it's like 5, 6, 7, and 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of like Pink Floyd's The Wall because like I think Roger Waters was a definitive INTJ because like what he described. He found out that like in the movie he finds out that like his wife is cheating on him and he's away on tour and he just feels like shit about himself. So he does all this crazy stuff like he goes drinking, he wants to eventually try to sleep with another woman, but he just like can't get himself to, and then he just goes into a rage and starts breaking shit while the woman's there. It's a really good movie. You should check it out.
Back to your question, there was probably at least a dozen instances because I bought a Mustang at that point in that time, and there were several instances where I was in some country road in 5th gear, pedal all the way to the floor at like 118 where it's governed, just looking around at the scenery and say, "This looks really cool."
Hell yeah.
There was like it was a fearlessness, but not like a brave fearlessness. It was like a resigned, okay, we're just riding this out at this point.
Some sort of emptiness, just trying shit.
Yeah. Why not?
So INTJ, you flip your shadow functions.
I think what. Yeah.
Right?
What was that?
I said, don't INTJs turn into ENTPs when they flip over their shadow functions?
Yeah.
They can kind of.
But then like if you take a look at their bottom functions, like let's see, NEP, NITI, FI, SE. So like if you flip that around, I don't know, it's complicated.
Now, I did write a lot of cool music in that period.
Yeah.
I actually made a lot, and that may be the thing that I had to grab a hold of that prevented me from completely going off the rails, is I had something that I could lose myself in that was productive. And I mean, I would get paid. I would already be behind on rent, and I would take the paycheck to the bank, hammer the check, get the cash, and go straight to Tower Records and buy 10 CDs and 5 DVDs. Before ever even considering paying bills. Completely irresponsible. That's a long time ago.
Yeah. How old were you when that happened?
19 to 23.
Oh, that's interesting because I can kind of relate to that because like last year I was in a relationship and it ended. Then I found myself in a job that I loved, and then the store was closing, but I loved it so much, and then it ended. So between the months of December through February, I was kind of floating, and it was just like, well, I've hit rock bottom. Shit hit the fan. So what's the worst that could happen? So I did a lot of things. And then the election results happened too. And I mean, I was depressed about that. And I don't know, this election just has been stressful. So the entirety of the year just was shit. So.
Well, the guy I voted for got in, but I only voted for him because there was no better option, I guess.
Yeah.
I haven't got to vote in an election that wasn't kind of sad. Like, well.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm going to pick, but not really going to.
I don't think anything I've ever voted for has succeeded, so.
But, I'm starting to pull myself out of that
Other than
funk.
Trump, I guess.
And I'm starting to pull myself out of that depression. And, I think the thing is that you gotta push yourself to, do productive things each day that you feel good about. Because if you don't do something for yourself, then, you're not accomplishing anything. And then you kind of feel like shit.
Well, it's your choice.
Well, I would say,
Yeah.
too, and the thing that kept me from going off almost completely off the rails like you guys when it came to that, when I hit my phase, I think Mark might be able to relate to this in some way. I don't know if he's gone through something like this, but basically my personal faith in Christ kind of still gave me a sense of purpose, even though I felt like I had lost pretty much everything after my relationship, my future I'd planned for myself. So knowing that God had a future for me still, and that I still had a purpose, that really helped.
I'll tell you what's sad in looking back on it is that of all the years to be alone in a house by myself and not dating or anything, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Just
Yeah.
burned. Not a single date.
Now, Andy, but you still have angst. Like, you still get angry. Not that you blame God for it, but you still, I don't know. Humans.
Yeah.
Maybe I could look at it that it actually saved me more trouble to have been isolated in that period and not have taken on, because it was a 1.5 year relationship. And things worked out okay. I wouldn't go back and change anything. I wouldn't put at risk anything I've got now by altering the causality. I don't have a regret or anything like that about it, but it was incredibly rough.
I think honestly, for a lot of people, this is a guess because I haven't gotten through it yet, but I think the late teens, early 20s is probably one of the most stressful aspects of a human being's life in the United States, what I would guess, because that's when all the changes are happening. That's when all the major things like college or other decisions you're making that'll affect you for the rest of your life are happening.
Yeah.
That I can't speak to because that period was overwhelmed by that specific loss. So I don't know what it's like otherwise.
Okay.
Taking that out of the mix, middle school would have been the worst. Because by the time I got to high school, I pretty much knew what I was going to do. It was music, and I had basically vested myself in what I am still vested in. I made the right call on that. And I had a lot of friends who went to college, drank themselves shitless every weekend, and basically destroyed themselves. And I was at home making music.
There you go.
So it's really difficult for me to put too negative a banner on the entire thing. But yeah, internally it was a messed up time. And the problem is that I kind of took it on and surfed it. It wasn't like, oh, I hate being like this. It's like it's almost really hard to articulate. But ultimately I started to realize, this sucks. And you're choosing to react this way to stuff, and there's a better way out of it, and I kind of willed myself into a frame of mind where I wasn't continually feeding it and reminiscing on things, and yeah, I got out of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's good that you got out of it.
And I didn't develop any kind of chemical dependencies. I mean, I tried a lot of stuff, but I tried a lot of stuff like once or twice and then just moved on. That's not for me. That's not my thing. I get it. Okay.
I'm gonna be miserable tomorrow morning.
Why?
It is
I gotta
tomorrow
work
morning.
Well, yeah, I got to work at 11, and it's 4 o'clock right now. But the other problem is I'm not even ready for bed. I won't be able to shut my brain off. I know it. And the reason why is because I went to bed at 4 a.m. last night and woke up at 4 p.m. yesterday. So, yeah, I slept for 12 straight hours yesterday. And then now I'm here again at 4 a.m., but my entire clock is off. Mark, I think you can relate to that.
Yeah.
Welcome to Insomniacs, not so anonymous.
Yep.
Yee. But I like this group because it's like cathartic to talk to. Sometimes. Maybe.
I need to convince my wife to come in here sometime with us.
Yes, I would like to meet her.
What type is your wife?
ISFJ.
I would like talking to her.
Oh, so she's the same type as my dad.
You can.
You should get your dad to come in, and then you should get your wife to come in.
No, my dad won't even come in. Anyway, I don't even live with my dad, for one. Two, my
Oh.
dad wouldn't do it. I know for a fact. I don't know. I'm not going to claim to know your wife, but ISFJs tend to go like, I don't think that would be a good idea, or I think that'd be pointless. That's how I notice they tend to work with things like this.
That's been our attitude so far, but at the same time, we do things together a lot, or we try to. She runs an animal rescue, and I'm on the board of directors. And anything that she goes and not anything, but a lot of times if she's doing something related to that, I'm with her.
Yeah.
And it's really good to have like a mission that you're both engaged in. You gotta, in a marriage, at least in my experience, it's good to have, even if it's a video game. Like for a while, we just played World of Warcraft together, and that's the thing we did together. And now it's pointless, non-productive, and now we do animal rescue. It's an improvement, but still, it's something you're doing together side by
Right.
side.
That would be interesting too to have an ISFJ in here, because I don't think we have anybody that's that different from the rest of us.
Jewel is an ISFJ. She was on earlier.
Oh, okay.
We drove to Clarksville.
I think it definitely this place definitely attracts more intuitive types than any others, though.
Seems to be. Introvert intuitives too. Well, I don't know. I don't really know what everybody's type is, but
I've seen a lot of INTPs in here.
so
There's
have
a
I.
lot of ENTPs, a lot of INTPs, a decent amount of INTJs.
There's some ENFPs.
We need
Couple
more
of-
ENFPs. We need an ENFP revolution.
ENTJs do not stick around, like they show up and then they never come back.
We need a revolution. We need a change.
I'm not aware of having been in here with any other INTJs, although that'd be interesting. I only know one other in real life, and he and I have known each other for like 25 years, and he's actually the guy that kind of got me into it because, I got typed in 92, but at the time it wasn't anything.
What is it with INTJs and being obsessed with this Myers-Briggs stuff?
I can tell you from my own perspective, as I look at it, I'm like, well, I thought I was really, really unique, like to the point where no one would understand me. And all of a sudden, this test has successfully categorized people that when I go and listen to them, it's like, holy shit, you shouldn't even know this stuff.
Right.
How do you know this? And it was like a proof in the pudding kind of thing. And the guy that I know that's an INTJ, he and I are very similar in a lot of ways, and we can talk to each other without filters. I can tell him a joke no matter how horrific or racist or whatever most people might consider it, and he knows that I'm not like that. It's not like he reads
Exactly.
Yeah, so we can talk to each other without filters. So when he comes to me and says, yeah, that's the same type I am, I'm like, that's interesting. And then I go to YouTube and I'm watching other INTJs, and then I'm like, huh. What is it about this that has categorized a bunch of concentrated a bunch of people that have these traits that I have that I thought I was very unique with regards to? There's something to it.
Right. I
It's a
didn't
cult.
until I found out about this stuff. I've literally. It's actually kind of interesting. The hilarious part is I just met the ENTPs. Like, let's see. Yeah, the only other ENTPs I know in real life, I met after the Myers-Briggs test. So who knows how many I met before that? But I doubt I met any because I've never until then met anybody that's like me.
I got my mom to take the test, and this afternoon she's an INFP-T.
Oh. I would like to see her and talk with her.
An INFP-T, that's asking for issues if I'm thinking about it correctly when it comes to emotions.
She was very supportive when I gripped. She didn't get me, but her attitude was kind of like, well, it's me and him against everybody else.
Was she incredible? My theory is she would be incredibly emotional. Is that true?
Yeah, to an extent. And she, whenever I would have problems in school, she would put on like a power suit and go in and deal with them like a professional. Like,
that's awesome.
That's like my mom, though. She'll do that too. Like, I mean, if I ever had an issue, she just whipped out the TE. She just was like, "No, I'm going to tell you why you are wrong." And one time, like, she got into this huge argument with one of my principals. It was hilarious. Like, she mentioned that, like, in my science class, we watched CSI for an entire week. And I'm like, this is your education system. This is wrong.
I'll send you. I'll tell you exactly what it was like when I was in school.
I think my mom was an ENFP, though. People have typed her as an ENFP.
You might get a kick out of this if this is what I'm thinking it is. Because this went on from about the third grade until the ninth grade, when at that point I was off the plantation. And come on, I hate YouTube ads.
I think everybody does. Just imagine if you have, like, nice music going on, and then, like, you hear, like, a YouTube ad, and it's just like, oh, fuck this. Oh, that circle and that thing? Dude, what is that? Ash. I know that's you. Or maybe it's Kestrel.
Where?
What is that?
Where? This whole circle thing?
Yeah,
That's
what is that?
Looks like an Illuminati thing.
No, tell me, what
that
is it?
That is from a cartoon. I have a shitty memory today. I cannot remember a single word for anything. I've lost my dad's name. If you give me a second, Bill Cipher. It's from a cartoon named Gravity Falls, and it's the main villain.
Oh.
It looks like this. And he's basically from another dimension, all that sort of thing.
Oh, that's some Illuminati shit.
He's dope. Look.
More concerned about other things, like his friends.
Is the show ended?
I think I cannot show you because copyright and shit.
But is the show good? Would you recommend it to me?
Oh, no.
Gravity Falls is a kids show, but it's interesting, so why not?
Oh.
I'm still a kid, so I might be biased, but as far as I remember, it wasn't that bad. It
Okay.
was pretty decent, actually. The guy who made it personally knows the guy who made Rick and Morty, so. But
The same
but it
guy?
is a bit. No, but the guy knows Rick and Morty, and they've made a couple of Easter eggs together, where something goes through a portal in Gravity Falls, and the exact items appear in Rick and Morty.
Do you watch a lot of cartoons?
Yes.
Which ones are the best?
That's
Are
funny.
you an ENTP?
I'm an INTP.
INTP. Ah. Well, the ones that's related to the most. If you want to discover how an ENTP functions, especially an unhealthy one, you should watch Rick and Morty, but that's a bit hard to decipher. But if you want to get more in depth, you should see BoJack Horseman.
Oh, okay.
If you want to see an
That's when-
unhealthy ENTP, you can go back in time and watch my childhood.
Yeah, but
That's the thing.
this-
The only show that I really connected with was Rick and Morty.
But
I
you
never
never
really got.
yeah, well, BoJack Horseman is about the ENTP's narcissism, sort
Okay.
of, and irresponsibility. The main protagonist is an ENTP, which was a celebrity, so they've got enough money to laze around for 10 years, but then their life is starting to fall apart because of their narcissism and shit, and a lot of bad things happen there, and it's even more realistic than, for example, Game of Thrones. It's more realistic than Game of Thrones to give you the perspective.
Would you give me another cartoon for me to check?
Hold on. Rick and Morty,
You know, speaking
Gravity
of cartoons, do we know what Myers-Briggs type SpongeBob is? I'm curious.
I think he's like an ESFP.
Falls. Yes, maybe ENFP.
I'm gonna look it up.
But I'm interested in Patrick.
But you know the problem
But
with
Patrick is
characters in
definitely-
series, right?
Patrick is who? What type is Patrick?
Yeah, so this board is labeling SpongeBob ENFP. Patrick is an INTP. No.
No, Patrick is not an INTP.
Okay, this board is instantly wrong. I'm leaving.
What? I can maybe see SpongeBob being an ENTP, but Patrick's definitely not an INTP.
If Patrick's an INTP, he's an incredibly stupid one.
Oh shit. And that's not usual for INTPs.
Yeah.
Patrick,
And okay,
yeah.
so this website says SpongeBob's an ENFP as well.
Maybe an INFP, they are dumb enough to.
Yeah, it says this one says Patrick is an ISFP.
How did we get on this topic, if I may ask?
That
Somebody
might.
mentioned cartoons.
Wait, no, how did we get on the topic of cartoons?
I don't know.
It just happened?
Yo,
Okay, so-
you've asked me about my background.
Oh, okay.
It says Squidward is an INFJ.
No, Squidward is not an INFJ. Squidward is a fucking ISTJ, if anything. But Plankton is the
Right.
INTJ.
Yeah, poor Plankton. It says Krabs is an ESTJ.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it does say Plankton's an INTJ.
Yeah.
Sandy's an ISTP.
What about
ISTP
Hi Hi
Sandy.
Puppy? What about Hi Hi Puppy
Sandy.
on the Unity?
I don't even know what that is.
Okay, that was a show on Cartoon Network when I was a kid. It was cool.
I'm gonna look fictional MBTI characters ENTP.
But I mean, these are going based off of stereotypes. Like, I mean, you can't just like actually, you know.
Yeah, you can. That's what stereotypes are used for, generalization. I mean, a
No,
lot of
but-
stereotypes are wrong, but still.
If I was to write a fictional book, I would definitely use the Myers-Briggs types to make my characters.
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, you're going off of like. stereotypes, so-
Plankton might be an ENTP though, or INTP.
All right, here's a list of fictional characters that are ENTP, apparently. All right, so we
That would be a lot.
So we have Let's see. Tyler Durden from Fight Club. I've never watched that. I'll just list off the ones I know.
No,
Captain.
just send me the link, and I'll get it on the screen.
Oh, good
What
idea.
type is? What does it say? What type Negan is?
Towards the bottom of the wiki thing.
The bottom, right here. Fictional character, so right here.
Yeah.
Cartoons and ENTP.
We can't see your screen very well.
Archer is a good example.
Archer is an ESTP for sure.
You really think so?
Yeah,
Archer from what?
I mean, my
Archer from the Star Trek Enterprise. Is that what you're saying?
No, Archer.
Or Archer.
Archer Sterling.
Oh,
He's
okay.
such an ENTP.
No, he has EXTP. So he's an ESTP.
Okay, so here's a list of ENTP
He's way too
characters.
goofy and full of random information.
From Star Trek, we have Captain James T. Kirk. He's an ENTP, apparently. I can see that a little bit. Dr. Emmett Brown from Back to the Future. Yeah, Bugs Bunny.
I wouldn't rely on that because Barack Obama is listed as an ENTP.
What, really? In this
Yes.
section?
Yes,
Okay,
so
never
I
mind. This is
won't-
terrible. He's not an
Yeah, but they give us visualization.
He's not an NT. He's definitely not an NT. Barack Obama's not an NT. No, that's not happening.
Kirk thinks Obama's an ENTP that had an easy life. He's coddled.
I don't think he's an ENTP at all. I think he's if anything, he might be an ENFP or an ENFJ. Actually, I think he's definitely a J.
So then he's ENFJ.
Yeah, I think he's an
I could
ENFJ.
see it's a possibility.
I don't think we should let any politicians into the NT club.
All politicians are clearly not.
Well, there's some politicians that are good at it. I think Ted Cruz is an INTJ.
You should do it.
Isn't it?
You should do it the other way. You shouldn't let any NTs in the politicians club.
I disagree. I think NTs
Either
should
way,
fix their
as long
problems
as they don't overlap, I'm happy.
One Venn diagram is.
Well, the problem is, I think our government doesn't have enough NTs in it. That's the problem.
It's because it's up to the NTs to shut the fucking thing down.
Yeah, well.
By the way, that's the lack of sleep plus the Everclear talking, so don't take that too seriously.
Everclear?
Say literally, and we're certain we're trying to get some sort of offense and emotion out of it.
Yeah, alcohol is a temporary but effective cure for INTJdom.
Well, I bet you Star Trek has a ton of ENTPs in it. Let me check for it.
Yeah, Jack Sparrow is not an ENTP. He's an ENFP.
I mean ENTP and
No,
ESTP is the-
I could see Jack Sparrow being an ENTP.
He's an
He's
ENFP.
just no.
Jack Sparrow is definitely an ENTP. He's one of the main
he's not.
archetypes to use.
No, he's
to
one of the
describe
main ENTPs. The thing is, he's an ENTP that's gone completely nuts.
No.
Hey, since you guys are on this topic, go find me Negan's type. I want to know.
Audra. Tell me real
What?
quick. Do you know any ENTPs that haven't gone totally insane?
Well, you imply that we started somewhere else.
I imply that there is no way that there's an ENTP that's accomplished and not insane at the same time. Therefore, the argument of Jack Sparrow being an insane ENTP isn't valid.
I think
He's
Jack
not-
Sparrow's one of the characters that, I mean, it is a fictional character, and they tend to deviate because
Over
They don't-
exaggerate him.
full consistency. And I mean, sometimes he's kind of ENTP, and sometimes he's kind of not.
He's an ENFP.
When he's not.
I feel like
Sometimes
the first movie, he was maybe more ENTP-ish, and then then later, like he ended up kind of the way they developed him, picking the other way.
Okay, so I have a question for you guys. How many of you guys have watched Star Trek Next Generation?
I've seen every episode, literally, in sequence.
Okay, I've done that 3 times. Anybody else?
Okay, so okay.
Mark, have you
I've-
seen it?
My dad used to watch it. I haven't seen it myself.
I'm so
I've-
dork. I started with Enterprise episode 1 and watched every episode of all the Star Trek series all the way through and got to the end of Star Trek Next Generation before I'm like, oh my fuck, I need to take a break from this.
I can relate to that. So, anyways,
I watched a bunch and read a bunch.
So I have several places on the internet. Whose mic is that? Making that noise. Okay. Anyways, so several websites have Q listed as an ENTP.
I'd roll with that.
Yeah, why not?
I always liked him. He was my favorite character.
Jeremy,
Yes, ma'am.
Annoying.
would you agree with that?
I'm not the I can answer questions about INTJs, ISFJs, to a limited extent INTPs, and from that point, I'm in the kiddie pool. I don't.
I know every type except for I constantly need this. Except for
Oh yeah, I use
I
that a
know
lot.
all of these. Yeah, I know all of these. And then I know these two pretty well, and I have very bad experience with these, so I'll be super biased about these, and I don't know any of these in reality as much, except for my grandfather.
Which
I
one
have
is it?
no fucking INFP. I have no fucking.
They make me happy.
So you don't like my
I ha-
mom? Is that what you're saying? What do you got
No
against my
offense.
mom? You've never even met my mom. What's the problem? I'm just playing.
Chill, mate.
I'm giddy
Yeah,
at this late hour.
So I don't know these. I don't know these. Then I don't
I have-
know these two.
You actually probably know a lot of
I don't-
defenders because they make up 13% of the population.
Like most likely I've ignored them, so I don't know about their existence. But I don't know these
don't
three
blame
types. I don't know these three types.
Well, at least I don't have
I
to worry
don't-
about you being my father-in-law. That's cool.
Chill, mate.
We can still
I
be
didn't-
friends.
So everybody except ENFJ, INFP, and ISFJ. I know about. I know very very little about these two types, and then I'm pretty good.
I got a
Hey, Andy?
challenge for you guys.
Andy, I just want to say that I like your quilt.
It's not my
That is-
it's not mine, but
It's a nice quilt.
is it a quilt?
It looks like a quilt.
It's a blanket, but you know.
I mean, it looks like a quilty blanket.
All I know is it's my landlord's. They provided the bed for me, so
Oh, did they
Oh,
use that blanket before?
But he is sleeping under at the moment.
what was
I-
that?
Jeremy.
I have a nerd Star Trek challenge for you guys. Since we're in a typing mood tonight, would anyone would care to type the Packlids?
I don't recognize that name. Could you give me a quick refresh?
The Packlids were a race that Geordi. They had a damaged ship, and Georgie went over to their ship to help them fix something. And if you've seen all the episodes, you should know who I'm talking about here. They're the ones with the pig faces that were like, "We like power. We like stuff that makes us go."
Oh, that one. I remember that episode.
Challenge accepted.
Okay. They're stupid, so they can't be an NT.
Well, they could have hardware problems and still be NTs.
Yeah, they really could. So, I would say that they probably are a pack of ISTPs, though, just because they sound.
Don't shit talk. Don't
We
shit-
like to
don't
go
shit talk
fast.
Fucking.
What?
You shouldn't shit talk fucking ISTPs. ISTPs are dope.
Yeah, they're definitely introverted. I think they are more sensing. They are not intuitive. They don't really think that far into the future, I don't think. I mean, they think of the future, obviously, like anybody else, but they don't think like as far into the future as intuitives do. They don't really think about theoretical stuff as much.
Do you think that
I would say
ENTPs think into the future?
Yeah,
Especially, I mean, maybe, but not the personal one.
anyways, I would say IS. I don't know if we can. They might be thinking, but they felt like they wanted to go fast, but they might have
Wait, who are we typing again?
a certain race, like just a generality of a race from Star Trek.
You can type a race. You can.
Oh,
You
it's
think
because
you can type-
these specific people all acted the same. That's why.
Are all the same?
I think it's either ISTP or ISFP. One of the two.
ISTP.
Wait, who?
If they were ISTP, they would not be there with their broken.
Wait. Do they cooperate? Do they cooperate? Are they the guys that hear the voices in their head, or? I think if they're the guys that hear voices in their head, they're ISFP, but they might be ISTJ if they are. If you describe them as robots, they might be ISTJs.
Opposite of robots.
They're the opposite of robots.
I wouldn't want a robot like that.
You know what? I'm not really familiar with it, so.
What do you think they are?
Like I said, I'm not an expert in this stuff. I'm not properly equipped to attempt to type them.
I don't know much about the S's because I haven't studied the S's much yet, so I wouldn't know what they act like. Like for specifics, choosing between the S's.
Yeah, and I don't know the Star Trek fucking thing. Type it in the chat.
I mean, they look like more of the FITE axis than FETI.
They specifically mentioned in the episode 2 that they were an underdeveloped race, that they had acquired the technology from another race that visited their world or something, but the deal was their race hadn't developed intelligence enough yet to even come close to developing.
The Ferengi do the same thing, and they're completely different.
Trying to attempt to
Yeah, but the Ferengi, I don't think are the Ferengi really underdeveloped. They just seem like they're freaking conniving all the time. They're just freaking morons.
I'm
that care
conniving.
about money. They're morons that carry. The Ferengi are morons that all they care about is money. I'd say they're all ESTPs. The Ferengi.
I mean, what's bad about money? But yeah.
No,
I'm
they're
just
like
going to
greedy
say-
to a fault. That's the problem with the Ferengi.
Going to say this super un-ENTP thing. I think that you cannot type the whole fucking race.
A lot of the Ferengi act very similar.
I would agree about typing an entire race, but
Oh,
they
fucking-
were only in one episode, and they all behave the same way.
Yeah, but hold on. That's called culture. That's why they behave the same. We all eat food in a similar manner.
It's a fictional race. They're very
Whatever, you
one-dimensional.
cannot.
According
You can
to
type them for fun, but
according to race, they all think the same way. So
At least with the Ferengi, you have like one guy in the Ferengi who's like very, rigid about procedure and policy, and what is rightful acquisition, and then you've got his underlings who behave completely differently. The Ferengi
that's true. They do act a little
They're
differently.
a much more fleshed out race than the Packlids, which were a prop for one specific episode, I think it's fair to categorize them all under one blanket. The episode, by the way, is The Samaritan Snare, for reference.
For reference.
Yeah. With the Ferengi specifically, I'd say they do display multiple Myers-Briggs types, but I don't think they have all 16 in their midst.
You'd have to have at least 16 individuals involved to be able to represent each type.
True, but I think from my experience, I'm watching Star Trek. I'd say a large majority, maybe not a majority, but a large percentage of the Ferengi are ESTPs.
So you describe the human race as ESFJ or Czech Republic as INFP? What's the logic behind that?
Which MBTI type is douche canoe? That would be the human race. If we're putting them all under one blanket.
Well, that's the thing. Is what I was saying is like not all races deserve one blanket. I didn't say that all of Ferengi are ESTP. I just said a good percentage of them are.
All right. Fair enough.
Because the deal is I think there are some species that have less MBTI types, and I wouldn't technically, theoretically, there are probably other races that can have even more MBTI types than humans. Although that.
So what are the Borg?
It's the Borg. Actually, you could put under one blanket because it's one personality.
That's correct. It's an assimilated hive consciousness.
Well, I think they're.
Yeah, but if you have only one type, then there are many things you cannot solve.
The Borg is either INTJ or ENTJ, in my opinion.
So you're saying I'm like the Borg?
That's a good point. I think they're like severe to the point where they have no feeling, if that makes sense.
What about the Borg Queen in First Contact? Because she was like unique amongst the Borg. She actually had.
That's true. She had personality. The rest of the Borg didn't. So she's kind of separate. I think she's not the Borg though. She's like separate from the Borg.
But she is Borg. She's the Borg. She's the Queen.
Right, but the rest of the Borg, I feel like the rest of the Borg act differently from her. So I would type them as two different types probably.
Man, she had the hots for Data.
Of course she did. And did you know Data's an ENTP, I believe?
Oh, did he take the test?
Data?
Yeah.
I don't think he took the test, but I'm pretty sure that Data's an ENTP. I read that somewhere.
You know, one time they shipped Snape from Harry Potter and Data. And it was like a beautiful bromance. It was glorious.
Okay, then.
It was like the hottest thing. Okay, what MBTI type do you think Severus Snape is?
Who? What? When?
Like Snape from Harry Potter?
Oh, I haven't watched Harry Potter.
Maybe ISTP, but an unhealthy one.
No, but I've still not gotten a type for Negan.
Negan.
ENTP or ESTP.
Is Negan? I'm guessing that's a Harry Potter character too.
No, if he were in Harry Potter, I would know all about the Harry Potter.
There was this giant ass bird that just went over. It was crazy.
Talking about my gameplay or?
No, that was like outside.
Yeah. All right.
Minecraft for the win.
Okay, so have any of you seen the movie The Room?
Yes, Mark.
Okay, so
you're so funny, Mark.
What do you think their MBTI types are?
Well, the only one who matters is the main. What's his name? Oh God, the main character.
I didn't know there was a main character in that movie.
the guy with the long hair.
Oh yeah.
The writer. Go ahead.
I thought the woman was like the main character.
Lisa. I love you, Lisa. You're breaking my heart.
I wonder
You're
what
tearing me
their-
apart, Lisa.
That fucking movie, I swear.
I think we should try to type Star Wars characters now.
Okay, let's start with Chewbacca. What is his MBTI type?
Type me for the INTJs.
I think Chewbacca. Okay, to start out, he seems a little bit introverted to me.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, he doesn't really like. What if he's an extrovert? What if he is? So, like, I mean, how would you know?
Well, he tends to try to keep to himself quite a bit, unless he's around Han. Obviously,
Yeah.
that's why I would say he's probably introverted. And then I'd say I don't know about his intuitive versus sensing. He's definitely a feeler.
He might be an INFP.
Can I claim Palpatine for the INTJs? Can I reinforce the stereotypes?
I think yeah, you might be right about Palpatine for that. He might be an evil INTJ.
Not from a Jedi.
Yeah, he's definitely an INTJ.
Thank you.
Evil INTJ. I mean, you got some evil ENTPs too. I believe. Let me look it up. I thought I saw somebody that was an ENTP that was on the dark side.
I mean,
I can't. I'm not going to allow. I can't
and
allow
he's
Luke into the
only,
INTJ club. Not with a line like, "Oh, we were going into Tashi Station to pick up some power converters." That's not an INTJ statement.
I believe he's an INFP actually, if I remember correctly from my research.
who is an INFP?
Luke Skywalker.
Whatever he is, he needs to be
Yeah.
beat up behind Mos Eisley a couple of times and grow up.
Maybe he's an ISFJ. He seems similar to Morty, which is definitely an ISFJ.
He dreams about the future a lot, though. Like even as a kid, when he was on Tatooine, he was like thinking about the future all the time. That's the opposite of what the sensors do.
But he whines. He whines a lot.
Well,
Yeah.
I whine a lot too.
I know.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, FI is a whining function.
Is it?
Oh yes! Fuck yeah! Fuck yeah! Oh fuck! No.
What about Boba Fett?
Let's see, I got the chart somewhere. Let's see here.
He's either an ESTP or an ENTP.
How do you know that?
Because the cool guys are always ESTP or ENTP. Deal with that.
Is that what you are?
Why can I not break anything? How does that make sense? Fuck this shit. I just wait for the data up here.
What about Harry Potter Puppet Pals?
Some people are saying Han Solo is an ENTP.
Some people.
Would you guys agree with that? Han Solo being an ENTP?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think he's pure ENTP because he just shows that, like, I mean, the way
He might be an
that he
ISTP.
moves. No, the way that, like, he moves.
Do ENTPs shoot first?
I think. What do you mean by that? Like, you know, in an actual like, he's very argumentative. If you've noticed,
But he's skeptical.
ENTPs can be skeptical too.
He'd
I-
take a
ENTPs are
take a
one of the
blaster
most
over Hokie
skeptic-
religion.
Not the way that he moves, the way that like he moves the the thing. You know what I'm talking about, like the lightsaber. Yeah, the way that he
Han-
moves it
Han
shows.
Solo doesn't use a lightsaber.
Yes, he did in